Hello and welcome to what is surely to be the last of my Iron Maiden, I guess kind of like a takeover this week of the channel, of the Dan Bowski channel, right here on YouTube. I kind of did this with Metallica at the end of September, and I'm doing it again with Iron Maiden. So you may have seen the bootleg merch video, the official merch video. I did a video of Can I Play with Madness? Everybody does live concert videos. I'm kind of over that, but I did one anyway. Can I Play with Madness? I picked the shortest song to do, and most recently I posted my vlog, my travel vlog of what it took to get me from right over here behind me to my seat in the stadium back to this place. If you want to see any of those, maybe I'll remember to put a link in the description down below, or maybe you can be resourceful and find them yourself if I forget, but I'll try to remember to put them there. So today I'm going to cover everything about this concert. I'm going to talk about the concert itself. I'm going to go through the songs track by track that they played at the concert. They call that a set list in the industry. And I'm even going to I'm going to speculate on the future of Iron Maiden and the upcoming 2025-2026 World Tour, the Run for Your Lives Tour, that has only been announced for 2025 yet, but they have said that it will extend into 2026. I'm going to try to like I said, speculation on what I think the set list will be. I don't want to do a separate video for that, so I'm going to include this one at the end. So if you want to see what I think will be included on that set list, maybe fast forward to about 28 minutes from now. I don't know how long I'm going to talk about this concert, but let me start right now. So I went to this concert, and I have some notes here for some things I want to talk about. I went to this concert with my, if you saw the vlog, the travel vlog that I did, I went with my nephew Lawrence. I bought him the ticket to this concert last year for Christmas, and so he was cashing on his Christmas gift this year on November 20th. Lawrence and I saw Iron Maiden together. I also bought him a ticket to go see them when they played in Mexico City in 2022, which was kind of a weird, I think kind of unexpected, and for me kind of forgotten. I had to go back and look at that to remind myself what they played on that tour, because they played 3 nights. That was still the Legacy of the Beast tour. I think officially they were calling it Legacy of the Beast in 2022, but they were adding some Senjutsu songs. And which, as I said, was kind of strange because they played 3 nights in Mexico City on the real Legacy of the Beast tour in 2019. That was September, October 2019. And so kind of weird that they came back again in 2022 with a few Senjutsu songs. So I took Lawrence to see that one too. I try to be a good uncle to my nephew and take him to see these cool things. And it was cool seeing that with him. You know, I have no trouble going to concerts or doing anything by myself. I went to Metallica, their 2 shows. They played 4 in Mexico City. I went to 2 of them in September, went by myself. I've been to countless concerts by myself. I went to Vietnam and Cambodia for a 17 or 18-day trip and a 29 or 30-hour flight by myself last year. I've gone to baseball games by myself. I drove to Chicago in 1995 by myself from Toronto, an 8-hour drive, and went to a Cubs game by myself. I've gone to movies, restaurants by myself. I know a lot of people, that's their biggest fear in life, is to do anything by themselves, but it doesn't bother me. I think if you're going to do something and you want to do it, you don't always have somebody to do it with. So instead of not doing it, you do it by yourself. But it is cool to do things often with somebody else, to share the experience with. And I really enjoyed spending some time with my nephew, and the drive there. He's young; he's only 18, and he's he was asking me about Iron Maiden and their history, and is it true Nico McBrain is going to retire, which I'll maybe address later in the video, and why do they have 3 guitarists instead of 2? And I have to say, Lawrence is an excellent guitarist, very, very good. He's been playing guitar for quite a few years now, and actually studying music as well, and I think is or was in the running for a music scholarship at quite a prestigious school in Mexico City. And it was cool talking about the concert and Iron Maiden music with him, and to have somebody to talk about with. He really enjoyed the concert because he said this was the first time he had seen them. He's only seen them twice, but he said this was the first time he had really seen them since he's been studying music theory, and he enjoyed it more. He could dissect it a little bit. He said he looked at it very differently. So I enjoyed seeing it with him. As I mentioned when I did the Paul McCartney, I did the same thing with Paul McCartney concert a few weeks ago that I saw with Lilia, who is my ex-wife, who is Lawrence's aunt. And I said the same thing. It's cool to go to something, in a concert in this case, and enjoy it with somebody who's really enjoying it. Because Lily is the biggest Paul McCartney fan, and Lawrence is not the biggest Iron Maiden fan. That honor belongs to me. But it was cool going with somebody who appreciated that. So that was with Lawrence. Let me check that off the list. Next, the weather. You may have seen in the vlog video that I did, the travel vlog, the weather sucked. When I left Cuernavaca, the temperature in the car said 31. I don't know how accurate that was, but it was probably at least 28 when I left here in Cuernavaca. And I picked Lawrence up at his school. We drove over the mountain to go to Mexico City. We're at 3,100 meters. And it was pouring rain, and the temperature dropped down to, I don't know, this is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something. It was 13 or 14 degrees and really, really dark and raining at 3:30 in the afternoon. We got to Metro Tasqueña Park there at the metro station. By that point, the rain had stopped, but it was starting again, and it was quite cold. By the time we got to the concert, to the bootleg merch area, you can go watch that. The rain had stopped, but it was cold. And by the time that concert ended, at whatever time that was, 11:15 or 11 o'clock or something, it was 10 degrees. It was a really cold night. So that, I think that also had an effect on what I will talk about next, was the crowd. The crowd was not the best Iron Maiden crowd that I've seen. Maybe Iron Maiden, I hate to say this, maybe are they wearing out their welcome a little bit? This was their 5th show here in 5 years. They played the 3 nights, as I mentioned, on the 2019 Legacy of the Beast tour. Then they played again in 2022, now again in 2024. And maybe it's just a little bit too much. But also maybe, as I said, it could be related to the weather. Mexican crowds are usually really, really into it and really intense and, singing and just really, really going crazy. Very different than crowds in the United States and Canada for sure, and probably different than crowds in Europe. And I don't know if it was the cold or the inclement weather, but the crowd was not into this too much. In my entire section, I assume it was, adjacent sections and sections all around, sat pretty much the whole time. I saw very few people standing in the patacas. Obviously, people on the floor. It was general admission on the floor, standing. Very different experience on the floor, I think. But I don't know if it was the, it's kind of like, oh, Iron Maiden is here again. Yeah, okay, I'll go see it. It felt kind of casual. Maybe that combined with the weather, everybody was better off sitting like this than staying warm and huddling together. Maybe that was why nobody was standing. But the crowd was okay, but not what I've come to expect from Mexico crowds. And I've seen Iron Maiden like that before, and I saw them in when was that? The En Vivo. That was the Final Frontier tour. That was 2011. Crowd was also not into it at that show. And because they had been here in 2009, 2008, 2009, then 2011 again. So maybe the crowd just wasn't into it for that reason. But a little bit disappointing. And then when we first, I'm going to go forward a little bit. When we first got in the stadium, Disturbed was playing, and I'm going to talk about Disturbed in a minute or two or more. And so it was, and Agora opened the show. We missed them, but we did see Disturbed. They were 2 songs into their set when we got there. The crowd was pretty sparse. The floor was maybe, the first, they divide the floor into 2 sections. General A, close to the stage, and then halfway back it's General B. General A was packed, of course. I think it was sold out. General B, when we got there, which was during Disturbed set, was maybe 50-60% capacity. There was a lot of empty space down there on the floor. And all the stands in the stadium were also maybe 40, 50, 60% full, somewhere around there. It did fill up. It wasn't sold out. There's no way it was sold out. By the time Iron Maiden played, I'd say the stands were probably 90 to 95% full, and the General B area was probably maybe 80% full. There was still room for a few thousand people, but it was a pretty good crowd. Let me cross that off the list. Now now another thing about that, I think the reason why the crowd was so sparsely attended, or why the show was so sparsely attended at that point. Iron Maiden was supposed to start at 8:50, and usually with these Ocesa, that's the promotion, with those big shows, promoter, and Iron Maiden, these guys are pros. They always start on time. They were scheduled officially to start at 8:50. They started at 9:15, and the crowd was getting a little bit restless. In Mexico, they don't boo to express their displeasure or their unhappiness. They whistle. And they started whistling maybe by the time Iron Maiden got to the point when they were around 15 minutes late, the crowd started whistling. And I was starting to get a little bit impatient, because what happened with Paul McCartney, if you watch my Paul McCartney video, we ended up missing the last train. Not because he was late, because he was supposed to start at 9. He started at 9:15. He plays for 2.5 hours. And that cost me an hour and a half to 2 hours of extra time missing that last train. And so I started to think, this is going to be the same thing with Iron Maiden. They're going to start late, and I'm going to miss the train and everything. It's going to suck. And maybe some other people were thinking that too. And then, so when they started at 9:15, after the first or second song, whenever there was the first break, when Bruce Dickinson addressed the crowd, he did kind of apologize or address the fact that they were late. He said because there was, I don't know what the problem was, but he said the crowd was arriving late, so they were advised to go on a little bit late to allow people to enter the stadium, and so it filled up better then. What else can I say? Let's talk about Disturbed. They suck. 2 words. That's all I have to say. They suck. But I never say 2 words. I always say more. I will explain why I think they suck. First of all, I think their music sucks. I've thought that since I first heard them I think it was around 2000. I have a friend called David Lovett, and he was really into Disturbed at the time, and he was like, always talking about how great they were. And I listened to, I think that album at the time, their first album, I think it was called Down with the Sickness. I listened to it, just didn't care for it at all. And I've heard a song or two here over the years, and it's just not my kind of music. I really don't like Disturbed. Then when I watched them live, I continued to not like them. What really bothered me about them, though, in addition to not liking them musically, I think I'm usually pretty good at, I talked about this when I did the Ted Nugent I Want to Talk About This Album episode about a month ago. I'm usually pretty good at separating what I think of the person or the people in the band personally, as opposed to their music. And so, yes, I do think Disturbed music sucks. But more than that, the singer, Dave, and I can never remember, I should have checked this. I think it's Dave Draymond or Dave Dramain. I think it's Dave Draymond. Let's call him Dave. And I hate this word, but it's so suitable to use it to describe Dave. He's a douche. What a douche this guy is. Douchebag, douche nozzle, douche canoe, whatever you want to call him. He just really gets on my nerves. And, in the short time that I saw them opening for Iron Maiden, he had 2 douchey moments. One was, in Mexico, there's a common thing that the crowd will do where they start a chant, the ole chant. And it's always the crowd that does it. It's always ole, 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 ole. And then it's always 2 syllables repeated, the 2-syllable word repeated twice, or it could be a 4-syllable word like if it's for I'll give you a couple of recent examples. For Paul McCartney, they said ole, 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 Sir Paul, ole, 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 Sir Paul. And for Metallica, ole, 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 Metallica. All right, so that's okay, but it's always kind of spontaneous. And, for Maiden, it'll be ole, 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 Maiden. Well, Dave decided to, as an opening artist, an opening band, decided to kind of start a chant himself, which is a really, really, this guy always, to me, it comes across as very, as I said, douchey and just arrogant, pretentious, pompous, kind of full of himself. And so he started the chant between songs. Oh, this is so embarrassing. This is cringy. That's another word that I hate, and everybody uses cringy, but it really was like, I was like, oh my God, just stop. He started chanting, ole, 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 disturbed, disturbed. No, generally, that's reserved for headliners. It didn't work at all, and the crowd didn't respond at all. There was no disturbed chant. That was one thing that he did. The other thing that he did was at some point, after a few more songs, he said something like, he was talking to the crowd, and then he said, I got to ask you, how much of what I'm saying do you actually understand? Like, it's just so, you're in another country where they speak a different language. Okay. But it just seemed very, again, kind of condescending, like he was talking down. And I know that wasn't his intent. And maybe I'm the only person that even sees it as this. But yeah, to say to a crowd, how much of what I'm saying do you understand? I don't know if it's because he wasn't getting the reaction. This was separate from the failed Ole chant. This was several songs later. And maybe he didn't get the reaction that he wanted, but the crowd, I guess, wasn't to his liking. So maybe he thought that was because they didn't understand him. I don't know. So that was what I thought about Disturbed. Couldn't care less about that band. Next is, let's see, what can I do next? All right, let's get to the actual concert. First of all, a few general things. The sound, it was okay. As I said, Paul McCartney sounded crystal clear. You could pick out every instrument as it was playing. Metallica was also quite good, better than Iron Maiden, not quite as good as Paul McCartney. Although you would maybe kind of expect that with Paul McCartney, because or let's say with Metallica or Iron Maiden, their music, it's heavier, it's loud, it's generally louder. It maybe doesn't lend itself to space or separating as much as Paul McCartney. But yeah, the sound, it was okay. It's definitely not the worst concert I've ever heard. That belongs to Iron Maiden. When I saw Iron Maiden at the same stadium in 2009 and 2011, those are maybe two of the worst sounding concerts I've ever heard. Just horrible sound. This one was not nearly, but then when I saw them in 2013 at the same stadium, they sounded incredible. So I don't know what it is, but they were okay. A little bit muddy, a little bit unclear, but not so bad. Not really complaining, just pointing that out. Another thing, comparing this tour, the Future Past tour, to the Legacy of the Beast tour, their last tour, this was not nearly as theatrical. And it's kind of funny with Iron Maiden. They've really had the same stage set since like Power Slave, Somewhere in Time, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I saw all those tours, and then they kind of died off, and they weren't as theatrical through the 90s. But then really since they've come back, at least since I started seeing the band in 2008, which is 9 times since 2008, they really have the same stage set. It's kind of like, Nico's drums are in the middle, and it's got the kind of walls beside it, if you're looking at the stage like this, and with whatever the backdrop is, and then the big backdrop behind them. And it's really the same every time. It just changes based on the theme of the tour, and then maybe more specifically the theme of each song. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying. But overall, I think this tour was not nearly as theatrical as Legacy of the Beast. The Legacy of the Beast tour was maybe it was the best Iron Maiden production I've ever seen. Every show, every concert on that tour, every song in that show. Yes, every song in the show was like a mini production, like a play. I think except for Wicker Man, and maybe there was one other song that didn't really have, like, Bruce Dickinson during Fear the Dark. He had the Green Lantern, and he had the weird clothes he was wearing. And during Sign the Cross, he had the big, the lit cross with the flashing lights on it. And in previous tours during Hallowed Be, I think it was Book of Souls tour, during Hallowed Be Thy Name, he actually had, the noose. He was carrying the noose. There wasn't nearly as much theatrics on this. The backdrops changed, but not. And during Aces High, of course, during Legacy of the Beast, they had the plane. I guess that was what kind of plane was that? What are the lyrics of Aces High? 10 ME-109s out of the sun. I don't know if it was an ME-109 or a B-52 bomber, but they had that. And there wasn't really any of this time, which then kind of brings me to my next point. I think maybe going back to the crowd maybe not being as into it as I would have expected. When they played here on the Legacy of the Beast tour, they played 3 nights. That was in an arena. And I think Iron Maiden being so theatrical, it doesn't suit them as well being in a giant stadium with, God, that stadium is enormous. It's just so big. It holds, I think depending on the configuration, it can hold as much as 65,000 people. If that's true, Iron Maiden probably had 40, 50,000, something like that, which is still great. But, you know, I was way at the back, and obviously they have the big screens, but there's a big difference between being at the back of an arena and being at the back of a stadium. It's like twice as far from the back of a stadium. And maybe that's another reason why the crowd wasn't into it. The theatrics were not as much. During Flight of Icarus on Legacy of the Beast, Bruce Dickinson had the big, the flamethrower that was really cool. And even during the Trooper, he always wears, the British, the soldier's outfit, and he carries the flag and everything. And he was firing from the flag. The flag had a fake gunshot coming out of it at the end. That was largely absent from this. Eddie did come out during 3 songs. I can't remember what songs they were. The walking Eddie. Of course, they had the big Eddie that rises up behind the drum riser during Iron Maiden, the song Iron Maiden. But there were 3 songs where Eddie came out. One was Senjutsu, the Senjutsu Eddie. That might have been also during the song Iron Maiden. I can't remember what other 2 songs Eddie came out with, but that was it. And also I was a little bit surprised. No, I'll talk about that when I go to the track by track. So I think it wasn't quite as theatrical as, I definitely wasn't as theatrical as the Legacy of the Beast tour was. And one last thing about this, 2 things, I guess. One small thing. I swear I felt like Nico McBrain was somewhat absent from the the video screens that they show. I don't know if I'm imagining it, but I felt like Nico didn't get enough screen time as he normally would have. Maybe I'm imagining that. But anyway, as for Iron Maiden themselves, man, they play great. They maybe more than any other band, at least major bands, the bands that I see, they really, really stick to playing the songs as they were recorded on the record. They don't really speed them up or slow them down. They don't really extend them. At least nothing I think on this one was extended. They don't have these jams or these big crowd participations, at least not on this tour. There's one song that they've done that they do occasionally on some tours that has a big sing-along, but really not too much here. They're really, really good. I really did enjoy it. Although maybe I am getting a little bit jaded from seeing them 10 times since 2008. I will always go see them, and I expect that they'll be back here in 2026 when they announce because so far for the 2026 tour, they've only announced Europe, and that's just 2025, 2026. They've only announced 2025 dates, which is just in Europe from, I think, late May until early August. I would imagine then 2026 is going to be North America, South America, maybe Australia, Japan, and wherever else they go. But man, Iron Maiden is really, really good. I will always see them, and I'm very, very happy that I went. But I didn't get the same feeling as I did even for Legacy of the Beast when I went to all 3 of those shows in Mexico City. All right, so that's it. So let me get to the track by track of the actual show here. I gotta open my other phone, which is very slow, so I might have some. Okay, here we go. All right, so they open, of course, with "Caught Somewhere in Time," and don't forget, after I do this, I'm gonna speculate about what they're gonna play on the Run for Your Lives tour. Something I want to add. It was also weird. Maybe this was another reason why the crowd was not as into it as maybe you would expect. They announced, I guess it was about mid-October, maybe sometime in October, they announced the Run for Your Lives tour. And as far as I know, this is the first time I've ever seen any band where the tour that they were on when I saw them, they had already announced what was going to be the next tour, not the next leg of the tour. Like when I saw Metallica in September, I think they had already announced the dates for, or was that after they played here? Shortly after. But they were just going to continue the 72 Seasons tour, just another leg. This Iron Maiden, they announced a completely different tour, the Run for Your Lives tour. That's going to be in 2025, 2026. And so it's just maybe a little bit strange to see them on this tour. It's almost like a lame duck. It kind of felt like a little bit like, okay. The next tour, the Run for Your Lives tour, sounds like it's going to be really, really good. They said they're going to, have a lot of surprises and songs they haven't played in years, although it's the same thing with this Future Past tour. But it was a little bit odd, and I wonder why they timed that, why they wouldn't have waited till this tour ended, the Future Past tour ended, to announce the Run for Your Lives tour. And I'm not telling Iron Maiden how to run their business. I just thought that was a little bit strange. And I think when I saw them on the Legacy of the Beast tour for the 4th time in 2022, I think it was shortly after that show, while they were still on tour, they had announced the Future Past tour. So that maybe people were kind of looking ahead, like at the Future Past tour, watching it this night, last week, November 20th, thinking, oh, this is good, but I really, really am more excited about what they're going to play on their next tour. All right, so they open with Caught Somewhere in Time. That's one of my, Somewhere in Time is probably my second or third favorite Iron Maiden album, and Caught Somewhere in Time, the almost title track. Let's say title track is one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs. I love that song. I don't know when the last time they played that was, which tour they played that on last, but I know it was a long, long time ago, maybe late 90s, early 2000s. And it was the first time that I had heard it. I'd only ever heard it once, and that was when I saw them on that tour. That was the Somewhere in Time tour. It was called Somewhere on Tour. And I saw that tour in March, I think it was March 21st, 1987 at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. So it was really cool to hear that again. But I think that's a little bit strange as an opening song. Iron Maiden almost always has their opening song, there's kind of an intro to it, like Aces High. The song, when they come out and run onto the stage and start playing, doesn't start until, and same with Caught Somewhere in Time. So they have the kind of intro that's pre-recorded, and then it kind of it goes into that gallop part. And to me, as an opening song, it's a little bit weird hearing that pre-recorded. I don't know if I explained that properly, but if you know Iron Maiden, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Caught Somewhere in Time is a great, great song. I love it. Next was, I should do more of these songs in a batch. What was after Caught Somewhere in Time? Stranger in a Strange Land. I love that song too. Also, obviously they were very heavy on the Somewhere in Time album on this tour. Stranger in a Strange Land was cool to hear. Same with Caught Somewhere in Time. I hadn't heard it since the Somewhere on Tour in March, let's say March 20th, 1987 in Toronto. That was great. That's one of the few, as far as I know, I can't think of another one, and maybe some of you people who are bigger Iron Maiden nerds than me, is that the only Iron Maiden song that fades out? I feel like every Iron Maiden song has a cold ending, an abrupt ending, but Stranger in a Strange Land ends, on the record it fades out, so they had a new ending for it, obviously live. Love it. Next here's where it got a little bit, the next 3 songs were from Senjutsu, and they were The Writing on the Wall, Days of Future Past, and The Time Machine. Now, overall, the songs from, I don't really like Senjutsu. It's too long. It's not too long. It's unnecessarily long. It's long. It's kind of boring. It's repetitive. It's formulaic. But I have to say that the songs that they played from it on this tour, or the songs they're playing from it on this tour this night, I did enjoy them much more or more. Let's say more. Not that they play them better, not that they, did them any differently, but I think the reason why I like them better was, is there somebody here? What's going on here? There's always something in these videos. I can never, no, somebody's parking right in my driveway. What's wrong with people in this country? It's not that they played them better. It's not that anything was different, but just I think because that album is so long and repetitive, I think just hearing these songs, mixed amongst all the other songs, it just made them easier to digest, easier to tolerate. I'm distracted, and my dog is distracted too. I say this every time. My dog barks in every video. So yeah, the Senjutsu songs, I still don't love them, and I've only listened to that album all the way through only once, which is quite a shame considering how much I love Iron Maiden. But yeah, I did like them better. So I mean, let's say all those 3 songs, The Writing on the Wall, Days of Future Past, and The Time Machine. And the crowd was not, the crowd liked them and they were appreciative of it. I think they didn't turn their backs or they didn't walk out. But, you know, there was kind of polite clapping and, you know, a dull roar when they started playing them. You know, it's cool. Iron Maiden does, you know, they're not relying on their past. They do these new songs, but everybody wants to hear The Number of the Beast and Hallowed Be Thy Name and Aces High. All right, so let's skip ahead to number 6, going back to the, not the hits, but the classics. The Prisoner from The Number of the Beast. I heard them do this. That was on, I think, Book of Souls tours they did. Book of Souls tour, they did that. A little bit of a rarity, and kind of strange that they brought it back so soon after doing it only 2.5 tours ago. But I like The Prisoner. It's a great song, and Number of the Beast is a great album. Next, they were going back to Senjutsu with Death of the Celts. And again, same thing. The crowd, you know, kind of I think a break for some people to hear Death of the Celts. Then after that was pretty much, you know, the songs that everybody wanted to hear. Next was Can I Play With Madness? I mentioned I took a shitty video of that. I like Can I Play With Madness? It's not one of my favorites. It's a good crowd song. The crowd likes it. It's short. It's not really like what you would expect from, I guess, classic Iron Maiden, but I like Can I Play With Madness? It was fun to hear. Next was Heaven Can Wait. Man, I love this song, and I kind of forgot that they were playing it. I know that they've been playing it because they've been on this tour for over a year, but I kind of forgot it was there in the set. So when Can I Play With Madness ended, I was going, oh, what's next? What's next? And then Heaven Can Wait came on, and I love that song. But there was something different about this on this tour. When they've done it in the past, they always have a big crowd of people coming out on the stage to sing the backup, whoa, 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 whoa. But nobody did that this time. And I said to Lawrence when that part was coming up, I said, watch, something cool is going to happen here. And nobody came out. Maybe that was another song where Eddie came out. But, and I don't know who it was that came out. I think it was the crew and maybe some fan club members when they've done it in the past. But this time nobody came out. But Heaven Can Wait is maybe top 10 Iron Maiden song for me. I love that song. Next was Alexander the Great. This was probably for most people the highlight of the show or of the tour. This was a big deal when they first played it on the first show of this tour a year and a half ago. They had never, this is also from Somewhere in Time, they had never played that song ever, even on that tour or on subsequent tours. And I like that song. I think I'm not as gaga about it as a lot of people are, but it was, I have to say, it was pretty cool to see or to hear Alexander the Great live. And then the next two songs, as they always do, Fear of the Dark and Iron Maiden. And you know, I don't mind those songs, especially Fear of the Dark. The crowd went nuts. Maybe that was the highlight of the show, I think, for a lot of people. The crowd really responded well to Fear of the Dark. And Iron Maiden, I don't understand. They're so great at mixing up the set from one tour to another. I know from night to night they don't change anything. But from one tour to another, they're really good. They drop songs. You know, on this tour, they're not playing Run to the Hills, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Number of the Beast, Running Free, 2 Minutes to Midnight, you know, some songs that you would consider to be, that you would think of as Maiden staples. And, you know, so they do Fear of the Dark and Iron Maiden every show, not just every show, but in the same spots at every show. It always, Iron Maiden, the song always closes the main set before the encore, and Fear of the Dark, maybe with one exception, the tour maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I think Fear of the Dark was third to last instead of second to last. But yeah, Fear of the Dark was really, really good. I don't even like that song, but I do enjoy it live. And then Iron Maiden, yeah, I think one of the Eddies came out, had like I think it was the Senjutsu Eddie that had the sword fight, and the big Eddie head came up behind the drum riser, as always. And then the encore, 3 songs, 15 songs in this set. Hell on Earth, another long one that's like 10 minutes long from Senjutsu. I like, you know, I think that's taking a chance, putting a new, long, somewhat boring song to open the encore. I don't know if it worked or not, but I like the fact that Iron Maiden did it, that they're changing it up a little bit. And then the next was The Trooper. This is another one, like, I think the only songs that they do every tour of these 10 shows that I've seen in Mexico, the 3 that they've done on every tour is Trooper, Fear of the Dark, and Iron Maiden. And I like Trooper. I know it's a little bit of it's overplayed, but again, the crowd is really into it. And then the last song was Wasted Years. I love Wasted Years, and they closed with that. Was it 2 tours ago? I think on Book of Souls tour. Legacy of the Beast, I know they didn't close with. Maybe it was Book of Souls tour that they closed with Wasted Years. I love Wasted Years. It's great. And that was it. So that was the show, and then we went out to the Metro. I only got one T-shirt. You know, if you saw the bootleg merch tour I did, I was saying it's incredible how much stuff there is, and I love Iron Maiden so much, but I did mention it was overwhelming. And I didn't buy anything before the concert because I was thinking, there's so much stuff I want. I really need to let it, you know, sit and swim in my head a little bit. And I thought I'll buy it. I'll think about it, you know, during the concert, and then when the concert ends, I'll go get it. And I just, on the way out to the Metro, you know, like I said, I was kind of in a hurry to get to the Metro, and just grabbed one shirt. That was all. I didn't get any pens, lighters, keychains, coasters, no Iron Maiden diapers, nothing like that. Just one T-shirt. That's all. All right. So now this is where God, I've been going for, how long is this video now? It must be, I can't see the time. It's got to be over 30 minutes. Maybe I should do this as another video, but I'm going to stay in it. So about Iron Maiden's future, I think they have one more tour in them. That's it. I think Run for Your Lives is their last tour. I think they can't continue. They've already billed this as the 2025-2026 tour. All right. Nico is 71 or 72, maybe 73. I think let's say he's 71. Let's give him let's put him on the young side. So let's say he's 71. You know, he had a stroke last year before this tour started, and that affected his playing on some of those early shows. Nobody knew at the time. Fans didn't know at the time that he had a stroke. But some people were saying that, you know, his drumming seems off. He's maybe a little bit slow. He's making some mistakes. And they announced at the end of the tour that Nico had a stroke a few months before the tour began. And that was why, you know, he announced it. And so he's 71 now. So this tour is going to take them through the end of 2026. So at that point, he's going to be 73. And, you know, for quite some time now, Maiden has mostly been doing album, tour, new album and tour, focusing on the new album. And then, you know, the kind of retro tours where they do the hits and songs that they, you know, nothing new. And so I think now that they're doing the Run for Your Lives tour, which is they've already said is going to be basically a retrospective tour, a 50th anniversary tour. I don't think they're actually saying 50th anniversary tour. They mention it in their press release. But Iron Maiden doesn't seem like a band that is going to build themselves this 50th anniversary tour or farewell tour. But so Nico is going to be 73, let's say, at the end of this Run for Your Lives tour. And then, so what if they go into the studio, or what if they go into the studio at some point and do another album? Okay, so the new album comes out in 2027 at the earliest, okay? And by that point, Nico, you guess, will be 74, and all the other guys, I think Bruce is the youngest, and he's 65, 66, 67. And I just can't see them then doing another album tour, new album tour after Run for Your Lives in 2027, and then taking another year off, you know, to rest, and then coming back with one last hits tour. And I don't think Iron Maiden would go out on a new album tour. I think they would go out on a hits tour, or I don't want to say hits. That doesn't sound right. You know, a crowd-pleasing tour. And so I think this is going to be it. Run for Your Lives. That's all. I don't see Iron Maiden doing this too much longer. Nico said maybe 10 years ago or something, maybe even less than that. He said, I can't see doing this when I'm 70. And, you know, people say things like that, and they're maybe not meant to be taken literally. But obviously he was thinking about that. I guess he said that because he was feeling it at that point, even when he was mid-60s. You know, maybe he felt that he wasn't physically capable of doing this for too much longer, and maybe he's, you know, his what's that called when he's on bonus time, maybe. So that's what I think. Now, the Run for Your Lives tour. There are two things that Rod Smallwood said. He said, this is a quote from Rod Smallwood. He said regarding the set list or the songs they're going to play on the Run for Your Lives tour. He said, many songs of which we haven't played in years. He calls himself we, you know. many of which we haven't played in years, and many we will likely never play again. All right, which also kind of to me indicates at least a little bit that this is going to be their last tour. Although I think it was after the Somewhere Back in Time tour in 2009, they said something similar. They said some of these songs we're never going to play again. So who knows? Again, I'm not sure how literally some of these things are meant to be taken. It's just like Metallica saying we'll never do a video, and then they did it. They did the video for one. So I'm gonna speculate on what the set list is gonna be. Now they did also say, again, this is a quote, spanning the 9 studio albums from the debut album Iron Maiden until Fear of the Dark. So nothing after Fear of the Dark. I assume that's going to include at least one song from each of those albums. They didn't actually say that, but when they say spanning the 9 studio albums, I'm sure most people would agree they're going to do at least one song from every album. So that's 9 albums. And let's go with the 15 song set list, because that's what they're doing on this tour, and that's what they did on the Legacy of the Beast tour. So 15 songs from 9 albums, that's not a really, really big window. So what I did here is I wrote the songs that, they generally play from each of those albums. And as they said they haven't played some of these songs in years. There are going to be some surprises. So based on, what they've played on this tour, what they're playing on this tour, what they played on the last tour, and what they generally play, what they haven't played for a while, what they might play. This is what I've done is I wrote a few songs from each of those 9 albums that they generally play and might play on this tour. All right. So this is what I think. 4 from the first album. 4. And I've got kind of 2. I've got kind of like an A and B, depending on if you make the set list 16 songs or 15. But I'll start with 15. So I think from the first album, potentially, I think they'll play Running Free. They haven't played that for years. That was always a crowd pleaser. I think the last time they played Running Free, I think it was on the Somewhere Back in Time tour in 2009. So it's been a long. I think that maybe I feel like did they play that in? No, maybe it was. I can't remember. But it's been a long time since they played Running Free. Maybe Phantom of the Opera. I've seen them do that twice. They did that on the second leg of the 2009 Somewhere Back in Time tour, and they did again in 2013, and that's a real crowd favorite. So they haven't done that since 2013. So people love that song. So I think that's a very strong possibility. Another one, this is maybe a little bit lesser. I think maybe Sanctuary. That's another one. I think Sanctuary and Running Free to me are very similar. They're both from the first album. They often have closed shows. There was one time I saw them. What tour did they close with Sanctuary? Was that Final Frontier tour in 2011, or I think it was the last time they played Sanctuary. I can't remember. But Sanctuary seems like it's overdue. And Iron Maiden, they will definitely. There's no way they're going to drop Iron Maiden. So I would say those 4 from the first album. Killers, I think all they'll play from Killers is Wrathchild. I think the only other 2 possibilities, and I think they're real long shots, would be Murders in the Rue Morgue and Killers. But I think Wrathchild for sure, and I hope so because I love Wrathchild. And they haven't done Wrathchild since Book of Souls tour, I think. And I'm going through the albums in chronological order. Next is Number of the Beast. I say almost guaranteed to do Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, and Hallowed Be Thy Name. All right. Obviously, they're going to do Run to the Hills because the tour is called Run for Your Lives. They're probably going to close with it like they did with the Legacy of the Beast tour. And I love Run to the Hills. So we're up to what's that? 4 from the first album, 1 from the second is 5. 6, 7, 8 up to Number of the Beast. All right. Peace of Mind. I think they'll only play Trooper from Peace of Mind. They're not going to drop Trooper. The only other, they on the last tour, Legacy of the Beast, that was heavy on Peace of Mind. They did Flight of Icarus for the first time in decades, so they're not going to. I don't think they're going to do Flight of Icarus again. They did Where Eagles Dare also for the first time in like 20 years or something. I don't think they're going to do that again. I don't think they're going to do, To Tame a Land or any major surprises. The only other one that I think is a possibility from Peace of Mind is Revelations. They seem to do that maybe every 3 tours, but they did it on Legacy of the Beast. So I'm going to go with just Trooper from Peace of Mind. So I think we're up to 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's up to 9. Power Slave. It's one of my favorite albums ever. It's by far my favorite Iron Maiden album, and it's in my top 10 albums of any band of all time, let's say. I think they're only going to do 2 Minutes to Midnight. They didn't do it on this tour, so they gave it a little rest. I think it's going to come back. Aces High, I mean, I would love to hear it, and Power Slave I would love to hear, but it's not, Aces High I think is not as, doesn't lend itself, I think, as much to this tour as 2 Minutes to Midnight will. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to play, I'm sure they're not going to play Flash of the Blade or The Duelists or Back in the Village or anything like that. Maybe, I kind of have a note here that Rime of the Ancient Mariner could be played. And as I mentioned, kind of a setlist A, setlist B. If they go with 16 songs, it depends how long the songs are too. Maybe if they don't do Phantom of the Opera, which is kind of long, they would maybe do Rime of the Ancient Mariner instead. And kind of, so I would say Phantom and Rime are could maybe alternate, kind of like Running Free and Sanctuary. I don't know if they'll do Running Free and Sanctuary, maybe one or the other. Somewhere in Time, I think they'll only do Wasted Years. They're already doing 5 from Somewhere in Time on this tour. Caught Somewhere in Time, Stranger in a Strange Land, Heaven Can Wait, Wasted Years, and Alexander the Great. They're not going to do Alexander the Great again, nor Stranger in a Strange Land, nor Caught Somewhere in Time, and I'm sure not Heaven Can Wait. So I think just Wasted Years from Somewhere in Time. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. This one I wasn't sure of. There are 3 possibilities. Can I Play with Madness, Evil That Men Do, and The Clairvoyant? Can I Play with Madness? They're doing it on this tour, but it's kind of let's say by Maiden standards, it's a hit. So it's not unheard. It wouldn't be unheard of that they do it on the next tour, 2 tours in a row. But it's not, I mean, that's not a song that they play every tour like Trooper and Fear of the Dark. So I'm going to say just The Evil That Men Do from Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Although it could also be Clairvoyant, but I'd go with The Evil That Men Do. This is not what I hoped. These are not my hopes. This is kind of what is realistic. This is the difficult one. No Prayer for the Dying. They haven't done anything from that album since the last 10 times I've seen them in Mexico City, and I guess that's about 6 tours. They haven't done anything from No Prayer for the Dying. Maybe they did, the last time they did something from No Prayer for the Dying was 2005, maybe 2004, 3. I would say realistically 2 possibilities, and I think they'll play them both. This is maybe a little bit of a long shot, but I think they're going to play Tail Gunner and Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. Realistically, the only other possibilities would be Holy Smoke and Hooks in You. There's no way they'll play Hooks in You. Probably not Holy Smoke either. Yeah, I'm going to say Tail Gunner and Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. I will even say that I think Tail Gunner is going to open the encore. Similar out to Aces High opened the encore, I think, on the last tour. I'm going to say they're going to play Tail Gunner and they're going to open the encore with it. And I hope they do, because Tail Gunner, I love that song. I don't know if it's in my not in my top 5, maybe top 10. It's an awesome song. I've never heard them play it live, and I hope they do. And I think Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter will also be played. That is 14, and then Fear of the Dark. I think and I hope they're only going to do from that album Fear of the Dark. I hope they don't do. They did Afraid to Shoot Strangers on the 2013 tour, the Made in England tour. What are they going to do? Wasting Love or Weekend Warriors? Crap. Stay away from that crap. I think just Fear of the Dark. So that's 15. So here's my 15 again. Running Free, Phantom of the Opera 2. This is not in order. In chronological order, not set list order. Running Free 1, Phantom of the Opera 2, Sanctuary 3, Iron Maiden 4, Wrathchild 5, Number of the Beast 6, 7, Run to the Hills, 8, Hallowed Be Thy Name, 9, Trooper, 10, 2 Minutes to Midnight, 11, Wasted Years, 12, Evil That Men Do, 13, Tail Gunner, 14, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, and 15, Fear of the Dark. That's what I think. I think, as I said, they might. I don't think they'll do Running Free. Now that I think of it, yeah, Running Free and Sanctuary. I don't know if they ever do those together. Maybe they'll drop one of those and do Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Maybe that's hoping, because Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner for me is maybe the best song ever recorded in the history of music. So that's all. That's my speculation. If you want to say what you, not what you hope they play, realistically, I don't care how much you like Lost for Words, Big Aura, they're not going to play it. And they're not going to play, I don't know, Strange World or Drifter. So, realistically, am I missing something? I think that was, I spent a long time doing this. I think must have been the last week or so preparing this. I don't know. What do you think? I think that's fairly realistic. Just not sure of the order. All right, so that's it. So this is going to be the last Iron Maiden concert related to the concert. I haven't done it yet, but I think the next I want to talk about this album. I usually don't know what episode I'm going to do until like the day that I do it, or maybe the day before. But I'm going to make an exception. I want to talk about this episode in the can that I did like 2 weeks ago that I haven't been able to put up yet because I've been doing all this Iron Maiden stuff and the hiking too. So I think the next one that you see is going to be I want to talk about this album that's in the can, that's been in the can for a couple weeks. We say that in the industry. And then the one after that, I am going to do Iron Maiden. I feel like I really want to talk about this album. You'll see which one it is, because I've talked about a bunch of Maiden albums, but there are still a few that I haven't talked about, and that's what I'm going to do. I think I'll do it in my time. I'm going to do it tomorrow. It'll be up, I don't know, first week of December maybe. Who knows how things are going to go. But that's all. This was a very, very lengthy video, and I got to get to work now. You know what? I'm kind of doing this on my break from work. I got to get back to work very shortly. So thank you for watching, and that's it for All Iron Maiden. See ya.